When you discovered the law of attraction, you started to believe anything was possible. Life got better, much better. Now you want more, but it's not working. That's where the Manifest It Now show comes in. If you've been waiting for someone who can teach you the practical application to manifest quicker and easier while having more, turn the volume up, because the dynamic duo, Cassie Parks and Ginny Gain, are ready to teach you how to live the law of attraction like they do. It's time to laugh and learn.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Manifest It Now. I'm here with Cassie Parks.
And I'm here with Ginny Gain.
And this week's topic, we're going to talk about how to get out of a funk. You know, When you're just in one of those times, we're going to talk about it because we get into those too, guys.
We do. And I know, I feel like we say that all the time, but I just think there's this belief out there that it doesn't happen to us.
Yeah, I agree. And it's always funny when it comes up. So we're going to talk about it. But first, Cass, what are you excited about?
Oh my gosh, so many things. I was thinking about it before we hit record, and I'm excited because we painted last weekend the main floor level of our house, and everything is getting redecorated and spray painting things with champagne gold color.
Of course.
I know, right? Oh, I have such a fun story to tell about that in a different time. But that, I remember I was like, oh, it was last week we did our Manifest It Now live virtual, and that was so much fun and just so empowering. And if you missed it and you're like, oh man, I wanted to be there, I believe there's going to be more coming. So
there's going to be more, guys.
Yes.
More regularly too. We had such an awesome time, and it was we witnessed so much shifting in just that 2 hours. It was an amazing group of women, and so we follow inspiration, and so that feels inspiration. So keep your ears open about when that next one is, and you'll be able to join us.
Yes, yay. All right, Jen, what are you excited about? I'm going to stop myself because I'll take the whole episode.
I feel really excited continuing on from last week, and I was talking about all the inspiration that's falling into place. So I got in another bubble of inspiration in terms of the Live Your Truth tribe and where it's going and the transformation that's going to come to it. And the cool thing, guys, is eventually I'll be able to tell the story and put it all together about the evolution of this. But the essence of this vision has been solid and centered. And it's me learning how to express that has been the evolution, and how to clearly communicate what this means. And that feels so exciting to be, and sometimes I forget, but to be it feels good to be on the journey to that clarity unfolding. So I'm excited about what's coming for Live Your Truth Tribe and that vision, how it's all coming together. So, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I love the stories and I love evolution, and I have that going on. I think I've talked a little bit about it, but just I did the workshop this week. And so I was playing in really big, opening new things too. And just, I love evolution. So good.
And it kind of ties in because I think part of this, these funks, we'll label them as funks or off times or whatever you're going to call them. They come as a very, very natural part of you moving towards your greater vision or goals or dreams or what it is you're creating in your life. And so even if we start to define and make that paradigm shift of, instead of this being a bad thing, meaning I'm off my path, what if this is a good thing, meaning I'm getting closer to what I really want? What if this funk is about me growing in a way that I haven't before? What would you say, Cass?
Oh man. So I want to go back because I had a similar thought too, but I would say, what if it's just part of the growth? What if it's not on or off? It's just part of the process. Mm-hmm. It's just it's just how we grow. because what I was going to say is we're sharing all of our awesome at the beginning is that we've also had a conversation previously where in the evolution, we talked about sort of quote unquote funks. And I want to give some other names as we go in for that. But like we talked about like, oh man, I was in this place and this is how I shifted and I did this. And it's all part of the evolution, right? It's all, and I definitely want to talk about this later. I'm going to make a note is sometimes that funk is the shift in, like, it's because things are
progress.
Shifting.
Like in motion,
but you
in
don't
the middle
see
of it.
Like, yes. Like, so we'll talk a little bit about that later. But what if you just saw it as like, okay, this is part of the process, right? I'm going to put you on the spot because we didn't talk about this before.
Sure.
Do you think there's a way to know, like, is there a, because I feel like somebody's going to ask this. Well, that's great. But like, what if it goes on for X amount of days or X amount of weeks? Like, do you think there is too long for it to go on or like where you should pay more attention and not just see it as part of the process?
It's a great question. Part of me says yes, and part of me says no.
Me too.
So part of me says it's important so the yes, like whatever half of that is that part that we can control. So making it like if it's gone on too long, if you have that thought, it's gone on too long, I should be able to do something about this. I would say there's an important part of you being true to you and taking the actions and having the focus that serves you and trusting that focus. So if I was to say what that practically means, if you're struggling with something or some idea or something's not going the way you want it and you're being like in a loving way, lazy with your thoughts. Like you're just watching all the news, you're talking about all the drama and you're not exercising and you're not getting outside. And, if you're not taking care of yourself and then you're complaining that the funk's going on too long, that's the time I would say, yes, you have some more power or control over how this evolves for you. I just don't think, okay, so that's that side. And then the other side is if you're paying attention to all those things and you're doing everything you know how, and so you're breathing, you're meditating, you're walking, you're scripting, and you're feeling connected to those and you're paying attention to, okay, let that go, and it's still not shifting in you, then I think that's when you let go of how long it is, how long this time period is. And that might even be a great thought to pay attention to is, am I constantly repeating or telling the story, this is too long. It should be different. It should be different is one of the biggest ones that gets in the way. And that's the thing we have to surrender to that's going to lead to that breakthrough. So what would you say, Cass,
Yes.
when you say like yes or no, how would you describe those sides?
Oh, very similarly, like that. So I made some notes about how to move through it. And so I was going to say that I think another way is to know is you can always come back to this episode, right? Like whether this applies now or you want to put this one as like, I don't know, in your folder of manifest it now go-tos for certain situations. What I'm going to say is like, if you go through what we teach you and we talk about today, and then you identify like, am I still telling the story that I'm in a funk? Because I will say, I'm trying to decide on a number, but I think 70%, I'm just going to say that, just based on my experience, 70% becomes about the story, right? And I will tell you, we're going to go through the through the process. But the story generally comes down to not feeling.
Yes.
Because when we talk about things, when we're saying I'm in a funk, we're not feeling the funk. And so it keeps us from feeling. And until you feel that, and again, we'll go more step by step, you can't come out of it. And so I think there is, once you go through and you sort of check yourself, I think this is one of the best things. You check yourself or you check in with your coach and you say, okay, this is how I'm feeling. This is what I've done. Like, this is where I'm at. And maybe you need someone else to help you see a little bit different or to help give you the space to feel and tell a new story. Or, for yourself, if you check yourself, like Jenny said, you go through all these things. And if you're still feeling like it's too long, see if you can let go of the story, and that helps. And if not, you just be really honest. Like, did I do all the steps? And there does come a point where if you've done all the steps, you've checked all that, it is too long. And, really, that's probably when you need some other support.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the biggest things that helps, maybe this will stop me, Cass, if I'm jumping ahead. But what Cassie talked about is you're not feeling it means you're thinking about it. So you're not experiencing it. You're just, you guys know the difference, right? Between I'm experiencing this thing, I'm experiencing the smell of a flower versus I'm thinking about the smell of a flower. So the flower smells like honey. Oh, it's beautiful. Oh, I love it. That's your thoughts about the flower or the smell of it versus walking up to it and smelling it. That's the experience of smelling a flower. We want you to experience your emotions and not just think about them. Think about the stories of what's going on. And that's the biggest difference in being able to process it.
Yes. Okay. I think we'll go more into that because that's going to be a big thing. Should we kind of go through a step by step?
Yeah.
And then dive into each one? Okay.
Definitely.
So first place I want to start is just how else might people funk? How else would this be described?
Off.
It's not
low vibe.
Off. Low vibe. Not working. Not feeling it.
Yeah. Not inspired. Out of alignment.
Not motivated.
Not motivated. Tired.
Yeah.
I don't want to put tired, but it's unmotivated. Procrastinating.
Yeah. Yes. All right. So kind of all of those are sort of what we're talking about in a funk in the ways that you might describe them in your life, right? So if you don't use the term funk, you might use something else, right? Jenny, what do you say?
In terms of starting?
It just would define it. You say you're off, right?
Yeah, I say I'm off. The other day I said to Lisa, I'm just all out of sorts. And that actually made it more funny. We laughed about it.
That's awesome, right? Yeah. Yes, right? Because the weight of sort of I'm off versus like I'm out of sorts, there's like definitely less of a weight on the out of sorts.
It feels so much lighter and way easier to share.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I think sometimes it's just like I describe it as like I'm not happy, or I'll say I'm off, or just, and so all the different ways. And one, I wanted to say that just so you all know, like we have these times. This is a process we go through because it's part of the process. And so identifying it is, and one of the reasons why you sort of want to identify it, how do I say it versus just like feeling it? Like, what word can I put to it, or do I put to it? Because that can be something that signals your brain, oh, I need to do these steps that Jenny and I are about to talk about, right? So like, oh, if I'm saying I'm off and I find that more than one day, or I'm becoming aware of that, I need to then do the next steps.
Yeah. I've learned to find it very empowering and freeing just to acknowledge it within myself to myself. So to put that label on it. And I'm learning that when you're in a 24/7 relationship with someone, that your self-awareness is like critical to giving the space for that relationship to be what it needs to be. Because if you don't even know where you're at, and someone else is trying to communicate with you, it makes it extra challenging. And that's often I think I've talked about this before, but one of the most uncomfortable parts for me is I hate admitting I'm off. So when my part of my journey is making peace with that. And that's that difference of like, as soon as I do that, so I guess the first part of that is acknowledging it, having that awareness of it and acknowledging that within myself, and then being like, okay, this is okay.
Yes. Right. And just being like, okay, even if it's just like, nothing feels good right now. Right. Yeah. Just define and acknowledge it. And that's part of awareness. Right.
Yeah.
And Go ahead.
No, you go.
I was just going to say, so acknowledging it and then following some sort of steps and seeing your own patterns is going to help you move through it fast, like automatically. Like doing what we say is going to help you move through it faster. But just like the minute you start to acknowledge it and become aware of it is the minute that you start to create your own process around it.
Absolutely. And you guys know with the instant you observe it takes its power away. Like you step into your power when you become the observer of it. So I'm having this experience. Me, this consciousness, this being, I'm having this experience. It's not like overtaking me. It's not who I am. So I can give it some space now to be something else. I can give this experience the space to be something else.
Yes. All right. So I would say step 2 is it's base. I wrote it down as basics, right? Mm-hmm. So number 1 rule is like, are you sick or do you not feel good?
Yes. Oh my goodness. Like, how many times? Right? Yeah, totally.
How many times? It's like, if that is true, if you don't feel good, like physically. Number 1 is like physically, right? Mm-hmm. Go back to bed and feel better. Drink water, go back to bed. Like you can't, that is clouding everything. It's making it harder. And it's also mixing up, right? It would be really hard to tell. And I think not a good use of energy and resources to like, oh, what part of me is this about not feeling good? And what part of this is a funk, right?
Yes. Totally. I cannot underestimate the power of going back to bed or having a nap. It's so transformative. And I remember actually when I was first learning this, I took a lot of naps because that's what I just trusted. For some reason, I didn't question it. And I just did it. And it works so good.
Because growth takes energy. Mm-hmm. Like babies nap a lot. They sleep a lot because they're growing constantly, right? And so when we're growing emotionally and inside and all these things, like we need more sleep. We have to take better care of ourselves. Yeah. And if you've come into this and you're like, full blown, like living the LOA lifestyle and working on everything, becoming aware, growing, but you haven't sort of added in more space to take care of yourself and sleep, eventually I do think it's likely that's going to get out of whack and you're just going to need some more sleep to create the energy for the stuff or to have the energy for the things that you want.
Yeah. I had a client reach out last week and she texted me and said, is it normal to be extra tired? I was going all week and now, and I'm like, is this what happens when you grow? I'm like, yes.
Yes. Take the day I get off. That question all the time. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And then there was like breakthroughs the next day. Like she had an amazing day the next day. Yeah. And I think part of what happens too, and this is like the physical level, is you like give yourself the rest. That is you letting go. That's you like surrendering to everything that's coming through you and the path and just getting out of the way.
Yeah, because you're not trying to push forward. Yes. Got to do one more LOA thing. Got to do a visualization. Got to do my assignment. Got to do this. You're just like, nope, I need some rest. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Love it. So take care of your physical needs.
Yeah. Both you and I like build that into our program, like days off at certain times, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we know, and the reason I bring that up is because it is so important, so do that for yourself, build that in, give yourself permission to take a nap, go to bed early, take a day off from manifesting or focusing on it. And you'd be amazed at how much that will like slow down the funks.
Yeah. And the regularity of them.
Yes, absolutely. And so adding on to this sort of basics, right, is do I feel good? Am I tired? Handle that before you do anything else is also the things Jenny said, like, have I gone outside? Have I had some movement? Right? Was it like, have I drank the amount of water that my body requires today? Right. And different people are on different water schedules and all of that, but check in, like, have I done all of my basics? Am I meeting my basic needs as a human on a physical level? Mm-hmm. Right? Because
have I hugged someone today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which might be hard now. Like, so, whether if you can't like physically hug, if you can physically go get someone, go get a hug, right?
Yeah.
If not,
Pets.
connect.
Pets are great.
Send a text. Pick up the phone, give a call. Yeah. And just make a connection. I had that like on the basics, like connection, right?
Yeah.
Food, water, connection.
Yeah.
Movement, sunshine, right?
Fresh
even
air.
just outside air.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fresh air.
Yeah.
Fill your lungs. Breathe. Oh my goodness. Breathe.
Yes. Right?
I literally just took a deep breath.
I know. I'm like, oh, yeah. Right? Because
Yeah.
even, again, like Jenny just said, like, I just took a deep breath. Like, we just get in spaces and coming back to those basics. We all have to do it. And it's going to be it's a long-term thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
There doesn't really come a day where like, you're not going to want to just take a deep breath when someone says breathe, because that just happens. It's always a good reminder. It's always good to have more air in our lungs.
Yes. Life force.
And why I keep saying all this is what I'm really trying to say to you, or what I want you to hear if you're a listener, is like, nothing's wrong, because I need to like come back to the basics and make sure I'm taking care of myself.
Yeah. A lot that comes up a lot is like, well, I feel like I've gone backwards because I have to go back to these basics. No, that's never the case.
No.
Yeah.
And these basics of moving through this is what we're talking about. The quicker you master them, the quicker you move through it.
Yeah. I mean, it reminds me of when I was playing basketball and we did basics every single week. And if ever we got too far ahead, too much into strategy or plays or whatever, or certain fancy skills, be like, oh, just come back to your dribbling. I'm like, oh, again, but that it's an amazing answer. Foundation.
It is. Yep. I totally get that. Same basic warm-up drills every week, right?
Yep.
Which are just the basic skills of, when I was playing softball. So I love that. All right. So next is to feel it versus think about it or analyze it. So
now, I want to, can I share
ahead.
something first? Yeah. So the place I find myself in, and I want to see how Cassie would answer this, is that I know what I should be doing. I'm in the moment and I'm thinking the thoughts, and this is part of the process. I'm thinking the thoughts, this is okay. I'm thinking the thoughts, this is a part of your growth. I'm thinking, there's value in this. It's okay. You can be here. But the key is in that switch from thinking into feeling it.
Yes. And you're making a really valid point. You have to allow, so what often happens is instead of saying how we're feeling, what's really going on, we talk about it. The awareness of saying like, I'm in a funk is awesome, but then we got to move, right? That's the awareness that brings us. Yeah. Okay. Basics. Yeah. Okay. Check that. And now I'm here, but it's like, but then what happens a lot of times is people try to like shut the door on all the thoughts. Right. So there are thoughts that come up. And as long as you're, so if you're just trying to like, I have this vision of like just slamming the door shut, right? Not letting all of those thoughts, all of your energy is going to keeping the door shut and not thinking a bad thought.
Yeah. I can see someone like leaned up against the door being like, no.
Yes. Because I have a kid, it's all animated and like monsters outside.
I love it.
But, so when you're like pushing against that, that's where all of your energy is going. You can't feel because you're not letting that stuff in. You're not even looking at it. You're not allowing yourself to be like, oh, there's some things here. But when you open the door and you say, I'm afraid of this, this is hurting, I feel frustrated because of this, then you can start to feel the feelings because you've allowed the thoughts to start to move in, and then the feelings come about those thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah. And
I mean, I was just doing this morning.
Right?
It's fresh.
And I shared yeah, it's so, and then when Jenny shared that story, I was like, oh yeah, I didn't get to tell you a couple weeks ago, like I went through this whole thing and I did it I did it in a day where it might have, used to take a couple weeks or months.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah. It was like an hour. And I was like, and then I felt amazing about myself because I'm like, you did this in an hour. Gosh. But it is one of those things that you do get better at. Like this process that we're talking about, like moving through funks, it gets easier, it gets smoother, and it gets quicker to the degree that you allow yourself, like that you follow what Cassie and I are talking about and you feel it more, the willingness to feel it.
Mm-hmm. And so with the feeling, you want to allow the thoughts in, no, without judgment, right? So anything, you just want to allow what feels true, right? So in my funk a couple weeks ago, it was about my business, like, oh, it's not growing. Oh, it's this, right? It was like thoughts about my business, which, again, I moved through very quickly. And then I'm going to tell you the end of it because it's just my favorite part is what happens when you get through your funk, right? And so allow the true thoughts without judgment. They are just thoughts. They are just information running through your head. They're just a little bit of data about what's going on.
And even say that to yourself. Like, oh, that's just a thought. That's just a piece of data. That's it.
Yeah. And then feel it. Feel what comes up from that. Feel what all of those thoughts are bringing up, and allow yourself to fully feel the feeling in the way that Jenny talked about, not describing it. I feel sad. I feel like I want to cry. I want to do this, but actually being in the experience of crying and allowing that sadness to move through you and being felt inside your body.
And it's interesting because we can't put words to feeling. We can describe what it means to feel episode over episode, but it's an experience and we can't have that for you. That's something you have to do. And so even just being open to that, you will find it. It'll come to you. I love that my clients will jump on the phone with me now and be like, I know that you love crying, so I cried a lot. I'm like, isn't it great? They're like, yeah, then I had a breakthrough. I'm like, yeah, I know.
Right? Oh, it's awesome. And so after you feel, go ahead.
No, you go.
I was going to say, then just allow, right? Which might be more feeling, or it might be a solution, which in the terms of my business was this very like, oh, it's working exactly the way it's supposed to work. That is exactly what's supposed to happen because you set all this other stuff up.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So like a thought like that, which is I would describe as like an aha or like an inspired thought comes in and you have access to that right away. Sometimes I find I can like feel that the kind of the in-between time of like, okay, you're out of the funk, but you're still getting familiar with the new way you want to be. And I can like sense what that time feels like. And it's very important for me in that time to like, one of the things I do is I just write. There's no agenda. There's no anything. It could be just walking. It could be swimming or anything that I feel like you're involved or is like a creative outlet of some sort, some way to express, to just keep an open channel for that energy to keep flowing. So, and then what I found is like through that writing, I turn on to what I want and then some way that comes out and then I'm like, okay, I'm good. And then you'll watch, the day will continue to unfold and all these little pieces like keep supporting your well-being or everything that's going well. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'll put that like in case somebody's like, I don't know what to write. It's movement. Like I think the writing falls in the movement of walking or it's keeping that energy moving.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I love the writing, but yeah. All right. Any final thoughts, Jen?
No, but just that's awesome. I think this is a powerful way to shift through and we said it in a different way than we have before. So it's good. What about you?
That's it. I think we covered it. Just keep this, write it down so it's handy. You can go back to this whenever you need it.
Yeah. Love me some steps.
Me too.
All right. Have a great week, guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Go be awesome. Thank you for joining us on the Manifest It Now show, where you learn how to leverage the law of attraction to manifest your dreams. Now that you're inspired, share the love and review us on iTunes. While you're there, remember to subscribe.